Hello, Junior 2. Hope you are all fine. In this chapter, we will learn more about cities in Egypt, interesting sites, and what cities and countries are famous for. Each country or city is famous for something. It can be the location of the city or some famous monuments or popular jobs. For example, Alexandria, it's on the Mediterranean Sea, and people fish or make boats. Another example, Giza, it's famous for the Giza pyramids and located on the Nile River. Now let's look at page 47. Are we similar? We will look at the pictures, how the city in the picture is similar or different to where you live. We can compare according to jobs, food, transportation, weather, sites to visit, and location. What's the city or country in this picture? Yes, it's Aswan. How is Aswan similar to Alexandria? We are similar because people who live in both Alexandria and Aswan can fish and make boats. We are different because Aswan is located on the Nile River, but Alexandria is located on the Mediterranean Sea. Now look at page 48. What's the city in the picture? Yes, the city is Alexandria. And since we already live in Alexandria, so we will compare Alexandria to Giza. We are similar because both Giza and Alexandria have famous zoos. We are different because Alexandria has Biblioteca Alexandria, while Giza has 3 pyramids. Now look at page 49. What's the city in the picture? Yes, it's Luxor. Why Alexandria and Luxor are similar? We are similar because both have important sites to visit. We are different because Luxor is famous for Karnak Temple while Alexandria is famous for Qaitbay Castle. Now look at page 50. What's the city in the picture? The city is Sharqiya. Why are we similar? We are similar because both cities have moderate weather. We are different because Sharqiya is located on the Nile River while Alexandria is located on the Mediterranean Sea. Look at page 51, Noor's plan. I will read the story and you follow with your pencil or your finger. And we will explain the difficult words while reading. Noor and Hussam are walking to school. We decided where we will go on our family trip, Noor says to Hussam. This is exciting, says Hussam. Where are you going? Going to start at Aswan and visit the Faili Temple, Noor says. Faili Temple is a famous site at Aswan. I have been there with my family, says Hussam. It's fun to walk around inside the big temple. There are beautiful carvings on the walls. When you look at the walls of any temple, there are writings by the pharaohs about the Egyptian history. They didn't write it with pens or pencils, they carve it on the wall. Next, we will go to the Valley of Kings near Luxor. Then we will visit our aunt in Hurghada, explains Noor. Valley of Kings is a famous place in Luxor, and Hurghada is a city in Egypt. It's located on the Red Sea. Good, Samir will go swimming in Hurghada, adds Hussam. Yes, Samir thinks he's a fish or sometimes a bird, laughs Noor. Finally, we will visit the Great Pyramids in Giza. It sounds like a very fun trip, says Hussam. I hope you will take many pictures. Now let's look at page 52. Where will we visit? We will look at the map, add direction words to the compass rose, and circle the cities we plan to visit. Let's remember the 4 directions we have. We have north, south, east, and west. Let's add the 4 directions to the compass rose. We added the 4 directions to the compass rose. Now we will circle the cities we want to visit. I circled 6 cities I want to visit. We will make a list of cities in the order we will visit them. We are here in Alexandria, so we will order them from the nearest to the furthest city. First city is Giza, second city is Qina, third city is Luxor, fourth city is Aswan, fifth city is Hurghada, and the last one is Port Said. Now look at page 53, our itinerary. Itinerary means planned trip, and we will learn more about it later in this chapter. In this page, we will write names of the cities in the order we will visit them, then record the transportation we will use to move from one city to another. Then we will record the distance between cities, as we learned in the previous chapter that every 1 centimeter on the map represents 100 kilometers in real life. We will start from Alexandria. This is our hometown. So we will add the first city we will visit, Giza. How can we move from Giza to our next city, which is Qina? We can use the bus. We will write the distance to the next city in the arrow. What's the distance between Giza and Qina? We will measure it on the map, then we will write it in the arrow. The distance between them is 500 kilometers. Let's add our next city, Qina. How can we move from Qina to Luxor, our next city? We can use the train. And what's the distance between Qina and Luxor? Let's measure it on the map. The answer is 100 kilometers. Let's add our next city, Luxor. Can we use to move from Luxor to our next city, Aswan? We can use the boat. And what's the distance between Luxor and Aswan? Measure it on the map. The answer is 200 kilometers. Look at page 54. Let's add our fourth city, which is Aswan. What can we use to move from Aswan to our next city, Hurghada? We can use car. And what's the distance between Aswan and our next city, Hurghada? Measure it on the map. The answer is 400 kilometers. Let's add our next city, Hurghada. What can we use to move from Hurghada to our last city, which is Port Said? We can use bus or plane. And what's the distance between Hurghada and the next city, which is Port Said? The distance is 500 kilometers. Let's add our last city, which is Port Said. What can I use to move from Port Said to my hometown, which is Alexandria? I can use plane. And what's the distance between Port Said and Alexandria? The answer is 200 kilometers. We will add our hometown, which is Alexandria. We will calculate the total distance. After adding all the distances, the answer is 1,900 kilometers. Now let's look at page 55. It's time to learn about the word itinerary. The last 2 pages we have made an itinerary, which means planned route for a journey. In the last 2 pages, we made a planned trip for 6 cities and how we will move from one city to another. This is itinerary. In the illustration part, you can draw or write some words, or you can stick pictures. I chose to stick picture. It's a planned trip. The first place is Giza, second Luxor, and the last place is Aswan. How can we use the word itinerary in our class? We can say, we will visit Giza, Luxor, then Aswan. This is our itinerary for the school trip.